I'd be surprised. And the two guys that I would look at is Flacco and Pickett. Now, they were aggressive in getting Joe Flacco as a free agent quarterback, brought him back. Obviously, he has a great relationship with Stefanski. Two of them had great success 2 years ago when he was the comeback player of the year, but they also acquired Kenny Pickett. I would be surprised personally if both of those veteran quarterbacks are still on the roster come week one, and you have the two rookies.
The Cleveland Browns are sitting on a quarterback powder keg that's about to explode. Word is spreading through NFL circles that Shedeur Sanders, the kid everyone thought would struggle in the pros, is already turning heads in Cleveland and making veteran quarterbacks Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett sweat bullets. Sources close to the organization are whispering that the Browns might do the unthinkable, carry 4 quarterbacks just to see what they really have in Sanders. But here's the kicker. By week 8, insiders are predicting Sanders won't just be on the roster. He'll be the guy under center calling the shots. Look, I've been around this league long enough to know when something big is brewing and what's happening in Cleveland right now. It's bigger than most people realize. The Browns didn't just draft Shedeur Sanders and Dillon Gabriel to sit on the bench and learn. They're paying more money at the quarterback position than any other team in the NFL. And that's not sustainable if you're carrying dead weight. Here's what's really going down in Cleveland, and why veterans like Flacco and Pickett should be updating their LinkedIn profiles. The Browns are in a situation that most teams would kill to have. Too much talent at the most important position. But in the NFL, too much of a good thing can become a very expensive problem very quickly.
Usually in a situation like this, just covering the league a while like I have, you have the two veterans go at it. One of those guys is your veteran, and then you probably keep both rookies and you dress maybe one of them. And you've got Flacco as your starter week 1, Shedeur or Gabriel as your backup. Then you got one who's not active, not dressed, but is obviously still on the team. So it would be surprising with the Cleveland Browns if they kept 4 quarterbacks. I do know that this year is going to be very important for Shedeur and Dillon Gabriel. And the reason is they're both 3rd round and 5th round picks. And if you remember, when we were sitting together at the draft, Cleveland traded back and acquired Jacksonville's 1st round pick and their own 1st round pick.
The writing is already on the wall for at least one of these veteran quarterbacks. Think about it. The Browns were aggressive in bringing back Joe Flacco as a free agent. This is a guy who has a proven track record with head coach Kevin Stefanski. And just 2 years ago, he was the NFL Comeback Player of the Year. That's not small potatoes. But they also went out and acquired Kenny Pickett, a guy who literally was the last person to touch the football in a Super Bowl. But here's where it gets interesting. And this is where my sources inside the organization are telling me things that would make your head spin. Usually in situations like this, you keep the 2 veterans, let them battle it out, and then you stash your rookies on the practice squad or keep them inactive. That's NFL 101. But Cleveland? They're not following the playbook. The Browns traded back in the draft and acquired Jacksonville's 1st round pick along with their own. That means they're sitting pretty with 2 1st round picks from teams that, let's be honest, aren't exactly Super Bowl contenders. And when you have that kind of draft capital, quarterback is always going to be lurking in every single conversation. This is where the chess game gets really interesting. The Browns aren't just thinking about this season, they're thinking about the next 5 years. And if you're thinking long-term in today's NFL, you better have your franchise quarterback figured out sooner rather than later.
Day one? No, by week 8, Shedeur Sanders will be.
Week 8, that sounds right.
Judging by the ESPN.
I mean, you know, I'm dialed into ESPN Cleveland, so I'm watching this. I don't know what the hell those DBs
16
are doing.
of 18.
Yeah, I think I only saw 1 interception from all the quarterbacks. So I don't know what Ward and the boys are doing over there. But
be careful. You know, be careful.
I'm reading tea leaves. I'm watching.
What are you talking about, Shreds? 16
Jackson
of 18.
Dart. Jackson Dart.
Touchdowns.
Threw 3 touchdowns today. Like, be careful.
Yeah, never gonna happen.
Holy shit, really?
Not throwing them.
Put on the bottom.
Yeah, it is a lot better than not throwing. Good call, AJ.
I get it.
James threw 10.
I've never, and I respect the hell out of all the beat reporters, but I don't remember us ever charting June minicamp.
Now here's where things get absolutely wild. And this is information that's been floating around league circles for weeks now. By week 8, not week 18, not next season, but week 8 of this season. Insiders are predicting that Shedeur Sanders will be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Let that sink in for a minute. We're talking about a rookie 3rd round pick potentially taking over the starting job from established NFL veterans before Halloween. That's not just bold, that's borderline insane. But when you look at what's happening behind closed doors in Cleveland, it starts to make perfect sense. The Browns aren't just carrying 4 quarterbacks because they're indecisive. They're carrying 4 quarterbacks because they want to see what happens when you put real pressure on everyone. It's like a reality TV show, but with million-dollar contracts and playoff implications. And here's the thing that's got everyone in Cleveland talking. During minicamp activities, balls are coming out of Sanders' hands that are making people stop and take notice. We're not talking about your typical rookie throws. We're talking about throws that make seasoned NFL evaluators go, wait, did that kid just do what I think he did? The attention to detail that's being paid to every single throw, every single decision, every single interaction is unprecedented. Teams don't usually chart June minicamp statistics with this level of scrutiny, but Cleveland is treating every rep like it's the Super Bowl, and there's a reason for that intensity. But let's address the elephant in the room, because this is where things get really juicy. There were questions about Shedeur Sanders' character coming out of college. Not the typical, is he talented enough, questions, but deeper concerns about whether he was going to mesh with veterans and handle the professional environment. Here's what actually happened during the pre-draft process. And this is where the story gets fascinating. Sanders didn't go through the traditional pre-draft process like everyone else. He didn't have a pure agent representation. He didn't do all the standard workouts. He wasn't necessarily willing to throw the ball when asked at all-star games. That kind of behavior turned teams off. It made front offices nervous. But here's the plot twist that nobody saw coming. Since arriving in Cleveland, Sanders has been absolutely outstanding in the building. Not just okay, not just meeting expectations, but outstanding. The concerns about him not getting along with veterans? Completely unfounded. The worries about his work ethic? Laughable. This is a guy who has been training to be a professional football player since the day he was born. When your father is Coach Prime, you don't just stumble into football greatness. You're prepared for it from day one. Every motivational speech, every lesson about handling pressure, every conversation about dealing with expectations, Sanders has been absorbing all of that his entire life. Think about what that means in practical terms. While other rookies are still trying to figure out how to handle the media, how to deal with veteran teammates, how to manage the pressure of being a professional athlete, Sanders has been living in that world his whole life. He's been watching his father navigate those same challenges at the highest level. The Browns coaching staff is seeing this firsthand. They're watching how he interacts with teammates, how he handles coaching, how he responds to pressure. And what they're seeing is confirming what Coach Prime has been saying all along. This kid is ready for this moment. But here's where the story takes another interesting turn. Dillon Gabriel, the 3rd-round pick who was actually drafted ahead of Sanders, isn't even part of the conversation anymore. Think about that for a second. Gabriel was supposedly the more NFL-ready prospect, the guy who would compete for playing time immediately. But all the buzz, all the excitement, all the speculation is centered around Sanders. That tells you everything you need to know about what's really happening in Cleveland. When a 5th-round pick starts generating more excitement than a 3rd-round pick, that's not an accident. That's talent rising to the surface in ways that can't be ignored. The Browns are in a unique position here. They're paying Deshaun Watson more money than most teams pay their entire offense. But Watson isn't even part of the current conversation. He's not in the building. He's not participating in activities. And frankly, nobody's even mentioning his name when they talk about the quarterback competition. Oh, you have this fascinating dynamic where the highest paid player on the team is essentially invisible, while a 5th-round rookie is generating Super Bowl-level excitement during minicamp drills. That's not normal. That's the kind of situation that forces organizations to make hard decisions very quickly. The financial implications here are staggering. The Browns are already paying more at the quarterback position than any other team in the NFL. Carrying for quarterbacks into the regular season would push that number even higher. But they're willing to do it because they believe they might have found something special in Sanders. And let's be real about what special means in today's NFL. It's not just about arm talent or athletic ability. It's about that intangible quality that separates good quarterbacks from franchise quarterbacks. It's about leadership, decision-making, under pressure, and the ability to make everyone around you better. From what insiders are saying, Sanders is displaying all of those qualities already. He's not just completing passes in practice. He's commanding the huddle. He's not just running plays. He's making adjustments at the line of scrimmage. He's not just throwing to receivers. He's building relationships with his offensive weapons. Joe Flacco might be the last guy to take the Browns to the playoffs. but Sanders might be the guy who takes them to their first Super Bowl in decades. Kenny Pickett might have been the last guy to touch the ball in a Super Bowl, but Sanders might be the guy who actually wins one for Cleveland. The Browns organization knows they're sitting on something potentially explosive here. They've got draft capital, they've got veteran leadership, and they might have found their franchise quarterback in the 5th round. That's the kind of scenario that keeps general managers awake at night. Not because they're worried, but because they're excited about the possibilities. But here's the million-dollar question that's got everyone in Cleveland on edge. What happens when Watson comes back? You can't pay a guy $230 million guaranteed and then bench him for a rookie. Or can you? In today's NFL, where results matter more than contracts, maybe you can. The Browns are playing a dangerous game here, but it might be the exact game they need to play. They're creating competition at every level. They're refusing to hand anyone the starting job, and they're letting talent rise to the surface naturally. That's how championship teams are built. So when you hear rumors about Flacco and Pickett potentially being traded, don't dismiss them as off-season speculation. This is a real possibility based on real conversations happening inside the Browns organization. When you have 2 first-round picks and a rookie quarterback who's already impressing coaches, roster spots become very valuable commodities. The Browns aren't just building a team for this season, they're building a dynasty. And if Shedeur Sanders is truly the missing piece to that puzzle, then everything else becomes negotiable. Veterans, contracts, expectations, all of that takes a backseat to finding your franchise quarterback. Here's what I think happens. One of those veteran quarterbacks is gone before the season starts. My money's on it being Pickett, simply because Flacco has that established relationship with Stefanski. Sanders and Gabriel both make the roster, but Sanders gets active game day status, while Gabriel develops behind the scenes. And by week 8, we might be looking at Shedeur Sanders as the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. With the organization already planning their next championship parade, that is Cleveland about to witness the birth of their next franchise quarterback? Could Shedeur Sanders be the answer to decades of quarterback instability? And are we watching the beginning of the end for veteran quarterbacks in Cleveland? Let me know what you think in the comments below. Is Sanders ready to take over, or are the Browns getting ahead of themselves? And don't forget to subscribe for more inside NFL analysis that you won't get anywhere else.